Okay, and welcome back to this lecture. Right, now we're going to have a look at the lost art of listening. Now, on the surface of it, communication seems like a two-step process. There is listening and there is speaking. I think if you do it properly, it's a three-step process. There is listening, there is consideration, and then there is speaking. And that middle one is very useful and can afford you great insight. Okay, it's sad but true that just because someone is not talking, it doesn't necessarily follow that they are listening. A lot of the time when we converse with each other, we're not listening, we're just waiting for our turn to talk again. If I suspect that this is happening, I sometimes throw in a non sequitur just for my own entertainment. So a colleague says, yeah, I have this big meeting on Tuesday. Do you think I'll have time to prepare? And I'll say, my mother just adopted a giraffe with a pink petticoat. And the colleague says, yeah, I know, there's just so much to do. And here's another way. The cue for one person to begin speaking again is when you stop speaking. So don't say anything. Another pattern interrupt. Now, sometimes people are not even remotely engaged in a conversation, and you can spot this easily because they will respond with stock responses from their autopilot program. Right, I know, really? Once in a meeting with my human resources lead, I got through almost all of the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody a line at a time until the penny dropped and she left and she said, "Are you doing Bohemian Rhapsody?" Anyway, a moment ago I said that this could provide you with great insight, and here's why. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use in the same proportion. Now, I don't know who said that first, but a gentleman named Sid, real name, said it to me. So thank you, Sid. Second ear time. Now, that's what I call this. When we communicate, we run whatever information is coming in through our own perceptual filters. We check it against our own experiences. We search our memory banks to see where it fits in. And when we allow time to consider the incoming information, I call this second ear time, you can make connections that you may not otherwise have made if you were just waiting for your turn to talk again. Now, sometimes this can pave the way to easy win, effective solutions if you are paying attention. Now, we'll get into this a little more later when we look at how to build superstar teams, but here's a sneak peek. Over the course of a couple of days, I had the same conversation with 3 different team members, all of whom had similar roles, about what they did on a day-to-day basis. Now, June said, I raise orders up till about midday, and Kevin told me, up to lunch I do all of my order raising, and Danny told me, I get all my orders raised by 10:30. So now I know all 3 raise orders, but there is another piece of information that's very useful in there. Can you see what it is? Absolutely, the time frames. Now, during my first conversation with June, I found out that she raises orders and it takes her from about 9 a.m. when everyone starts work until about noon. So half of her day is spent raising orders. Now, as I have nothing else to compare this with, this becomes my baseline. Now, later when I speak to Kevin, he tells me more or less the same thing. I check this with a baseline I got from June and it matches. All good. Now, it's only when I speak to Danny that things get interesting, because she too raises orders, check, but Danny's done with this particular task by 10:30. And that's a mismatch. Now, this mismatch created a question. Why is one person completing a task a full 90 minutes faster than her peers? And it's the power in that question that led to a solution to a problem that the team didn't even realize they had. Okay, we'll get into the finer process details of this a little bit later. Okay, so the skill of listening is very simple to develop. All you need to do is be present, allow time for your conversation, and use that time to consider what the other person is saying before you respond. Use your second ear time. Simple and effective. So, in summary, take the time to listen by utilizing your second ear time, and notice how differently people react when you dedicate a little quality time to actually listening to what it is they're saying. Okay, I'll see you in the next lecture.